The number one team, newly minted number one, Auburn and Bruce Pearl, playing without the guy who was leading the discussion for National Player of the Year, Johni Broome. So obviously you go into this game at home, which is a positive, 7-point favorite. But here comes nationally ranked Mississippi State, and you had some questions. Who's going to step up? As Little T said in the postgame last night, who didn't step up for Auburn? Here's Bruce Pearl afterwards.
In terms of being without Johni, you've got an experienced team. Is there any message that you give to guys like Chad and Denver and Chaney beforehand, or do you just kind of trust them to take advantage of the moment?
No, you sort of trust them. We're going to miss Johni more on the offensive end because he's such a great offensive player, and he's such an unselfish passer, and we can do a lot of game planning around him offensively. So I would say that we probably had to go to some other things offensively more so. But our guys knew what they knew what they needed to do, and I thought, like I said, everybody on the roster stepped up, and it's going to be about matchups, and it's about not getting too high, not getting too low. This is what's crazy, okay? We just beat a team by 22, that beat a team that we just beat by 3, they beat by 30. No, they beat South Carolina by 30 or 30 something.
35.
It's just wacky in this league now. It's just, you can't really predict what's going to happen. Let's just get to the next one and just see if we can keep getting better.
And I obviously was at the Alabama game, so I've had to catch a few highlights and read about it. It looks to me like Chaney Johnson could start at a lot of places.
Well, I think Stephen Pearl told us that a couple of weeks ago. But, yeah, if you wonder what Chaney Johnson looked like as a starter, goes out, has 17, 8, 4 blocks, was so active, both sides of the court. Chad Baker-Mazara, again, just incredible performance. Hit that 3 right before the half. You knew it was just going right for Auburn. They opened the game 10-0 run. They never looked back. They got up by as many as 26. They never trailed in this game. And that is a really, really good Chris Jans defense. And they hung 88 on them without maybe the player of the year.
Yeah, that's wild to think about. And, it's what we talked about on the show yesterday. I know Lance and I felt this way. I couldn't remember what you said. I think you felt the same way, is that there will be a whole lot of emotion for a number of reasons. Number one, full arena. Not the arena is not full, but students back in, so it's a real home crowd there at Neville. And we talked with Stephen about this. You've got the emotion of saying, we're not just Johni Broome. We're a really good basketball team with or without him. And you got a lot of guys motivated to go show that. And I think when you start on a 10-0 run, and Chad Baker-Mazara, I believe, had 8 of the first 10, you're showing that, right? So I thought this would be an emotional performance. We said all day yesterday, really, really difficult spot for State, and it showed.
Yeah, you got to. I know you hate the phrase, but you got to give them their flowers. To lose Broome and have so many.
I have never heard that until you said it. I still haven't heard it. Is it something like Emily in Paris? Is it the Bridgerton?
I don't know if it's Bridgerton.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just the only one saying. Maybe I'm trying to start something. But anyway, you got to give them credit, dude, because.
Again, I said this the other day. I think this could be or is a top 10 team without Johni Broome. I think as good as Broome is, that team last night just looked incredible. And I do think that Brown made this point yesterday that you just alluded to. They were going to be super fired up, playing in front of their home crowd without Johni Broome, wanted to show what they could do without their alpha. And, boy, they proved a point there. And you know what Auburn's got? We mentioned Aiden Holloway with Alabama coming off the bench, instant offense. Pettiford, same guy.
So I get home, and I'm like, I just want Auburn highlights. I don't want to watch them. I record Auburn and Alabama games. I don't want to go back and rewatch the TV broadcast. And I couldn't get to one highlight, just kept popping up in my feed. The first 12 highlights I watched it the first time, and I was like, God, did something else happen? I had to watch it again. It's the same play. That Pedrafor dunk.
A windmill dunk. You see that in dunk contests. You don't see it a whole lot in a college game.
He's listed at 6'1". Is he 6'1"?
I don't know.
He didn't look 6'1" in that play.
My Lord, a windmill dunk in live action. You don't see that one a whole lot.
Yeah, that's a.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
I'm holding 10 up, and you're right. It's in the game.
Yeah. That was not pregame warm-ups. It was not some exhibition or dunk contest.
It was off a dribble.
It was off a dribble breakaway in a game. This kid, the way he played.
What do you call that, a windmill?
Yeah. No, it's 100% a windmill dunk. The superlatives for Pettiford right now, I don't know which ones to use. This guy's playing elite-level basketball, especially considering his age.
Yeah, and again, another guy that would probably start on 95% of the teams out there.
Yeah, but when he stepped in front of that pass, I was saying, look how quick he is. and then for him to sprint down the court and do that at the end of it, that was nasty. So Auburn wins, but this is the SEC. They go on the road this weekend to sneaky Georgia.
Yeah, so I mean, this Auburn team is the best team in college basketball, especially when they're whole. I don't know if you really can deny that. I know they've got the one loss to Duke, and watching Duke again last night. I mean, I don't know if they're going to get challenged.
Well,
in
the
the
ACC is so bad.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we won't get to a point this year. Seth Greenberg joked on the ESPN desk in the broadcast the first Saturday of SEC play. It was at halftime of the Florida-Kentucky game at Rupp Arena. He joked about Auburn's the best team in the country, and it's not close, I think he said, or at least the best team in the country. And the person who was there beside him said, Seth, you're not saying Auburn versus the field, are you? And he says, not yet, but we may get to that point. Do you think we could get to that point at one point where we're going into March Madness and it's Auburn versus the field?
Are we talking nationally?
Yeah.
We're not talking Auburn versus the SEC field for the regular season.
Yeah, I will take the field if we ever get to that point.
I'll tap my brakes on
I can
that.
only remember a few times when we really talked about that. 2012 Kentucky, the Zion Williamson team. When was that? 2021 Duke.
Yeah, sneaker year.
19 maybe. I forgot what year that was. And they lost in the Sweet 16. Last year, UConn, we did do that.
Yeah.
People that took the field lost.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
right. That was the one time we could say, sorry, field.
That's hard to do. I mean, maybe. I don't, put it this way, Dunaway. So they do go to Georgia this week. They're going to be favored at Georgia, I think, without Broome, which is crazy.
Road favorite without Johni Broome.
Yep. Then
By
they've
how
got-
much? I mean, it's a skinny
It'd
favorite.
be
of it.
skinny, yeah. 2.5, 3.5.
You probably need to see Georgia, Tennessee tonight. If Georgia
Yeah.
somehow won in Knoxville tonight,
that
then
would change
that would
things.
change it, yeah.
And then after Georgia, you do have that Tennessee team you're talking about coming to the jungle. And then you go to LSU, Ole Miss. I mean, look, if Auburn, navigates this deep into, late February with 1 or 2 conference losses, I think you can start having that conversation.